I just want to do a quick follow up to the video I posted previously on Ms. Diane Abbott. I would say MP, but we're not sure of her current status due to the recent suspension, which is what the whole video is about to a large extent. So, to begin with, I'll give you a little bit of background on who she is. It goes a little something like this. Miss Julie Abbott, born 27th September 1953, is a British politician who has served as a Member of Parliament MP for Hackney North and Stoke Newington since 1987. That's going back some ways. She was the first black woman elected to the UK Parliament and in 2024 became its longest serving female MP, earning the title Mother of the House. Kudos to Diane Abbott. I say that for some very simple reasons. I came up in that era as well, and it was nothing like what we experience now. I'm not saying everything is cool and cushy currently compared to then. Back then was like the wild, wild west. There was no wokery, there was no political correctness. Pretty much anything goes as far as how you were dealt with to an extent in society. So I don't know what she had to navigate as a young black female, the first as well entering parliament, what she had to navigate through, but she obviously had the street smarts and political nous to position herself because 40 years on, here she still is, if they allow her to remain there. So I'll give you a quick example. It was a Saturday night. Me and a mate was taking a stroll up the high street, just catching some fresh air before, calling it a day. Bopping down the road, two little youngsters and a what was called CID at the time, CID, Ford Cortina, I think they drove back then, pulled up, two dudes bopped out, pushed us up against the wall. What are you guys doing walking up on the high street at this time of the day? Who are you trying to bloody, 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 blah? So anyway, we tried to just, kind of like play it cool, allow the experience to elapse because, as some people say, these things pass, and that's one of those things. My mate was slightly less cool-headed than myself, and he must have said something to upset the detective that was, dealing with him. So next thing I see him leaning over, arched over, got a solid punch to his stomach, and you couldn't really retaliate back then, or it will, accelerate to something crazy. So, we just chilled, allowed the whole thing to de-escalate, and went about our business because that's the way things used to move and flow back then in that era. So if Diane Abbott came up through that type of you know social acceptance or non-acceptance and how some of us were treated back then, she's done well. Back to the story, the parts that I failed to include, and I'd like to slide into to the video now, just as a bit of a follow-up update, are the articles that have been written about her, which were accurate at the time of publishing, and I'm sure are still accurate now. So this is ground news. I tend to go to because they give you all the perspectives, left, center, right, and then you can do with it what you will. So I'll start with a summary on this current Diane Abbott story because she's been around this block before. It's the second time accused of the same alleged statements of racism, or however it's defined. It says, on Thursday, a Labour Party spokesperson confirmed Diane Abbott's suspension pending an investigation and said the move automatically removed her Commons whip. Earlier this year, Ms. Abbott described the Israel Defense Forces as the Jewish Defense Forces before removing the post. Responding to BBC4, Ms. Abbott said, "No, not at all," claiming it was silly to equate racism based on skin color to that faced by Jewish and traveler communities. Okay, that's her perspective. Then, and I'm not kind of defending her. Like the stories I just told you, it was like different back then. It wasn't like politically correct. It wasn't woke. So, people from that era are gonna have a different outlook to some of what we kind of are fairly confident of how we see things. In terms of racism and prejudice and things of that nature. your millennials, Gen Zs, I'm sure they're going to have a different outlook to all of this than the older generations that came before them, because those generations had a greater stack of personal experiences to draw on and form their opinions. Anyway, without going on too you know too far off track, let's get back on to this summary. Responding to BBC Radio 4, Miss Abbott, not at all, claiming it was silly to equate. Okay, I'll jump past that bit because I've read it out already. Less than 24 hours after, 4 Labour MPs lost the whip. A Labour Party spokesman said there is no place for anti-Semitism in the Labour Party. With the party investigation ongoing, her remarks face further scrutiny and potential whip removal as campaign again. Oh, so I'll correction. Well, I don't know. It might have changed since then. They haven't removed the whip from her. She's just been suspended, I guess. There is no place for anti-Semitism in the Labour Party. With the party investigation ongoing, her remarks face further scrutiny and potential whip removal as campaign against anti-Semitism is submitting a complaint to the BBC indicating broader implications for party discipline. Right, there you have it. Now, if I go further down the page as we're dealing with ground news and we get the different perspectives, I'm going to give you the New Statesman's take on this same story, and it's interesting when you listen to the 3 stories that pretty much talk about the same thing, and you listen to how it's phrased, told, particularly the titles. Okay, here we go. New Statesman. Diane Abbott and the truth about British racism. When she spoke on BBC Radio 4 at 9:30 a.m. on 17th July, Diane Abbott was a Labour Party member of over 40 years, a political veteran, and the mother of the House of Commons. By the evening of the same day, she had been suspended from the party and had been forced into a defensive crouch. That's an interesting choice of words. Saying it is, they didn't say that, I just interjected. Saying it is obvious this Labour leadership wants me out. Somewhere in the middle, we have an argument about race, racism, and hierarchies of racism. Okay, interesting. I won't go any further into that. We'll move on to a centrist perspective from the centre. This is from My London. MP Diane Abbott suspended from Labour Party over comments about racism. And they go on to say, this is what they go on to say. They go on to say, MP Diane Abbott has been suspended. Pretty much what the last story said. But you're gonna see there's gonna be a slightly different, flavour to it. Suspended from the Labour Party for a second time, a spokesperson said after she doubled down on comments about racism. Doubled down. For which she had previously apologised. A Labour Party spokesperson said Diane Abbott has been administratively suspended from the Labour Party pending an investigation. We cannot comment further while the investigation is ongoing. The move means the whip is automatically suspended in the House of Commons for, they did remove the whip. Okay, yeah, got that right first time round. Commons for the Hackney North and Stoke Newington MP. It is understood. Ms. Abbott was suspended by the Labour Party in 2023 after writing a letter to The Observer comparing racism experienced by people of colour with that seen by other groups. Okay, yeah, that kind of makes sense. All right, we'll go to the third and final version while we're on this version excursion, or shall I say take. And this is coming from the right of centre. LBC, very well-known broadcaster, you could say legacy media network. They say in their title, Diane Abbott suspended from the Labour Party pending investigation. Diane Abbott has been suspended by the Labour Party pending an investigation into comments she made about the racism Jewish people experience. And once again, they go on to say, former Shadow Home Secretary Abbott had the whip removed 2 years ago after claiming that Irish, Jewish, and traveller people undoubtedly experience prejudice that is similar to racism. But she added at the time, it's true that many types of white people with points of difference, such as redheads, can experience this prejudice. but they are not all their lives subject to racism. Okay, I mean, sounds like a fair point, but like I said, depending on your your personal experiences, how far back you go to, if your experiences are more recent, you've come up in a more politically correct, more woke era, you're going to be completely unaware of some of what used to go on in this very same said society and country we call our own. A Labour spokesperson said the MP had been suspended pending an investigation. And there I will leave it. Leave your perspective, your point of view, and anything you have to say in our comments, CornerSpeak, YouTube. It will be appreciated. I respond to all the comments, and I really do like to hear what people have to say about these stories. So don't be shy, give it a try. Drop some info, drop some text in the comment section. And they say each one teach one. So we might not agree. Somebody might read your comment, they might not agree, or they might agree. There's often something that can be taken from everybody's point of view. So more eyes, more ears, more knowledge. I would just like to say at this point, thank you for spending some time with myself, Owen Uradia, here at CornerSpeak. Be good, be safe, be creative. For now, see you in the next video. We out. Or live stream.